I didn't know Tania before this conversation. Someone reached out to me and asked if I'd consider having her on the podcast. And after spending time on her website, I was intrigued. What I found during our conversation was someone who cares very deeply about helping people trust themselves and integrate spirituality into their everyday life. I really enjoyed getting to know her, and I thought you might enjoy meeting her as well. So here's my conversation with Tania Ho. Welcome to Mediumship Sparks, where we connect more deeply with spirit and source and follow the sparks of insight and inspiration that bring us greater awareness, healing, and just more flow into our lives. I'm Noelle Dean, intuitive medium, licensed therapist, and your host. A quick note before we begin: this podcast is for educational purposes only and provides general information. It is not medical or psychological advice and is not a substitute for care from a licensed health professional. I'm so grateful we get to step into this together. Let's dig in. Welcome to Mediumship Sparks. We have a special guest today. Her name is Tania Ho, and she is with us from Thailand. Tania, it would be an honor to hear you explain some of your background in some of the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Noelle, for having me today. My name is Tania Ho. I'm originally from Hong Kong, but now I've been living here in Thailand for the last 13 years. I am an intuitive soul guide, meaning I help people to reconnect with their heart and soul. And another role that I do is I run a retreat center here. I run a retreat center called Muse Flower Retreat and Spa. We are based in the north end of Thailand called Chiang Rai, and our retreat offers yoga retreat, meditation, spa holidays, and soulful retreats, allowing people to come here to recharge, to reconnect with nature, and through that, to reconnect with themselves.
I noticed on your website, there are some services that you offer online that sound like something people would do in person.
We do. So for the fire release ceremony, we do that here in person every full moon, because full moon's a really good time to do any release work. And so what we normally do is we write down the things we want to release. So it could be any old stories, limiting beliefs, any heavy emotions. And sometimes it could be memories. People don't know why, but it's a memory, it's something that happened. They can write it down, and then we're going to release and burn it to the fire. I have also done that online, so it is easy to be able to do that at home as well. What I love to do is all the tools we offer and teach at the retreat center, we're able to bring it back home to use it in our daily life. So it's not like a one-time thing you do there, but you have to learn all these tools, adding to your own toolbox, and then you bring it back home and you're like, okay, oh yeah, I remember I've done this, and so I can redo this at a smaller scale or at home. And so the online fire release ceremony is that, bringing that. We don't have the big fire, but you can do a small fire with a candle, and you can do that at home.
I love that. It's one thing to go somewhere and have a special treatment, but it's not sustainable if you don't learn how to do it or feel empowered to do it for yourself. And with all of these kinds of tools, we really want people to have that sense of autonomy, to support themselves in that way, to reach out and to learn things, but to really be able to comb through some of the stuff that we end up coping with and empowering and really unique ways to improve our environment. So I love that. You have quite a lot of services. You have a podcast. I was listening to the episode about the best protection to protect your vibration. You're so thorough in how you explain things. I talk about that type of thing at times on my podcast, but I'm not nearly as organized as you were and thoughtful about your list. One of the cool things I think you talked about was about raising your own vibration and coming from a place of love, even with the concept of protection, because if you from fear, that's already a lower vibration.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I scribble on my because it's very hard for me to think at a spot. So I have the whole script that I read it out from. But I do want to share exactly what you said. I think sometimes when we think about protecting energy, we're thinking, oh, because the outside world is very dangerous and I need to protect myself. And it's not what that is about. It's stressing the point that when we're protecting energy, so we're not taking on other people's things, so we can really focus on ourselves. We're really focusing on being our true self and not being affected by people around us or what's happening in the world.
Absolutely. It even brings up the idea of guarding our mental health or our mental state. It's the same thing. You touch on a lot of things in those episodes. I just want to say, it doesn't sound like you're reading it. I admire that.
Thank you so much.
But the third is important because you use a lot of great analogies about using lotion on your skin and protecting your skin, and even washing your hands in food prep, about the idea of delving into different energies and then releasing that, being thoughtful ahead of time, and even wearing black clothing. I know about black rocks and black stones and crystals, but I don't know that I thought about black clothing. That was a very practical tip.
Oh, yes. I learned that in a shamanic practice course. In certain shamanic ceremonies, they would wear black clothes as a form of protection to protect the practitioner. There are other practices that you've seen people will wear white clothes more and more, but the receiving for the light. So I think it's interesting to have both. And I think the culture, like when you go to funeral also, for example, I think in the Western culture, it's very similar to Asian Chinese culture. It's wearing black clothes. Or in Asia, you can also wear white. So it's white or black, actually, to attend the funeral.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, people would probably look at you funny if you wore white here. Although there are times when we have more celebrations of life than traditional funerals. And sometimes people are encouraged to wear color as a reflection of the person's personality who recently departed. Yeah. But you have a lot of different trainings. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about some of the cool stuff that you've done, because it's such a personal choice to find a practitioner or a teacher that we want to work with. And having somebody, knowing somebody's background about what interests them can actually help us really make that choice, because we resonate with this part and this part. So you are trained in shamanic practices. Can you say a little bit about what that means?
I'll come back to the first part of the question when you said first. I think when I set up an Into Soul guide, guiding people back to their heart and to their soul. And the big theme topic that I do it's through intuition. It's learning how to trust your intuition. Is this my intuition or is this my mind? Trusting intuition, there's different layers. I know this is my intuition, but do I act on it? Do I take that leap of faith? Do I act on it? And it's also this constant journey, because sometimes when we did act on the intuition, the outcome was not as we expected, and then we lose a little faith in ourselves. We lose some confidence. But sharing my own experience and teaching people how we can live with clarity. We have more clarity with learning to trust our intuition, but also building confidence and courage to act on the intuition, because that was my own journey as well. And another part of my work is helping more sensitive people. I do believe everyone, of course, they're all sensitive, but some people are more sensitive. The highly sensitive people, like the empaths. And only a few years ago, I embraced myself to see as an empath. And even within an empath, there's a whole spectrum. And I read that from Anita Mujani's book called Sensitive is the New Strong. It's a really good book. She has this quiz also, you can find out what type of empath you are. When I embraced that for myself, that's why it inspired my podcast called Embracing Your Sacred Nature. Then a lot of things fall into places. Oh, that's actually how I am built energetically. That's just same as our hair color, same as our bone structure. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just this is how I'm built. So once I embrace that and learn that, okay, how I can work with it now, not work against it. So learning how to master our sensitivities, because they can be double-edged swords, right? Sometimes when we're so sensitive to energy, when we don't learn how to protect our energy, then we pick up a lot of other people's energies and we get burdened by that. It is a gift, but we also have to learn how to master and protect our energy so we are not constantly influenced and affected by other people, especially for the more sensitive souls. Another big part is linked together, of course, that I like to help sensitive souls to really awaken to their true power. The true power, recognize sensitivity is their gift, your superpower, trusting themselves, trusting their intuition. I'm going to act on my intuition now. See, this is my gift and how I can use this gift to carry out my soul purpose or soul mission here on earth. These gifts are here to help you learn and grow as a soul, but also to help other people. Usually I find for a lot of sensitive people, they want to help. They want to help the people around them, especially empaths, right? They feel good when people around them feel good, so they want to help people around them. So these are the things that I'm really passionate about. And the shamanic practice come into it. What I love about it is because it is a path of direct revelation. It's the same as the other things we talk about, meaning there's no person in between. to tell you what to do, right? It's a path of direct revelation means you go direct to the source, to your spirit animal, to your spirit guide. They're your spiritual support team, and you get your guidance from them directly. And so you're not depending on somebody in the middle. Of course, sometimes it is helpful to have someone, a practitioner, a teacher to help you, because there's so many blind spots sometimes we don't see. So of course, sometimes we do need somebody, but it's really going directly to the divine wisdom, divine power, divine love that's within you, that it's all around you, that's helping you. So the shamanic practices go into there. And so shamanic practice, it's really a way of life to see that everything in the planet has a consciousness. Like plants, stones, they all have a consciousness, working with them, animals. And there's this whole realms of beings that we can't see with our physical eyes, that they're here to support us. They're here to help us. We can connect with these beings from different realms to help and support us, our journey here on Earth. And also everything is conscious. So the land also has consciousness. And I believe that there are helping spirits everywhere. So helping spirits on the land, for example. Our ancestors also are here always cheering us on. Even though there's ancestral trauma, but also there's gifts and wisdom and blessings from ancestors. We can connect to different dimensions, beings to help and support us. That is one way that shamanic practices help us to connect with our spirit guides and our spirit animals.
Love that. I've never heard the term path of direct revelation, and I am in love with it now, because that's such a cool way to talk about an intuitive soul guide, bringing people back to themselves, teaching them how to listen, because we're taught really not to listen, or not listen very deeply, especially if it seems like an unpopular path that we're feeling led to go towards. Giving people that sense of agency over themselves, something that's sustainable. Yes. I'm also a believer to help somebody be more connected to themselves. I rather devote my life to supporting people to feel empowered with their own abilities, and to see everybody as capable of doing that to whatever degree they're actually interested in pursuing it.
Yes, but the term is actually not from me. The path of direct revelation is from Sandra Ingerman. She's a very famous shamanic practice teacher here in the States. I've attended a few of her online courses and I have read her books. She always emphasized the path of direct revelation.
So thank you for bringing her up, because I haven't taken any of her courses or read her books yet. You're the only person that I've ever seen that on your website, you have a page of people who inspire me. And I thought you might have a couple of mentors or maybe a few books, and the list kept going. And I was just so impressed. That felt like such an act of generosity for you to acknowledge these other people that have impacted you. I've just never seen that before. It was very touching to credit people and also share about them with others.
Thank you. I do have to update that page, but yes, she's still going to be on there. There are so many great teachers out there doing great work and inspiring people. And so there have been a lot of people on my journey, and even same as like the retreat center, when people are like, yeah, you opened a retreat center. Yes, but it's not myself. I didn't build it myself. I have all these people helping me, and same as in my own healing journey, I have all these people inspiring me in different stages of my life. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I think you're the first person I heard give me feedback on, oh yeah, I saw this on your website and it's very inspiring. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh, it's so cool. I might have to copy that if you're okay with that, and add that to, just because it is nice to give people credit for how they impact us. That also teaches people about you and the books you've read, the kind of classes that you've taken, and who has influenced you, because they may resonate with the same person, like Sandra Ingerman.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your retreat center, are you the sole practitioner, or do you have others that work with you?
I do have another teacher, so we have two of us, and occasionally I have a visiting. It's mainly me and another person, because we have like yoga, meditation. I don't teach yoga, so she's the one who teaches the yoga, the physical exercise, qigong. She's a Reiki master, so she also teaches Reiki. She does sound healing. I have about 20 staff. Everybody can multitask a little bit, wear kind of different hats and do more things. So she does that. I teach and talk about different kind of meditations, the fire release ceremony, the shamanic practices. Another thing that I work with is cacao medicine that I really love, and love sharing that to the guests. Intuition development, the protection, energy protection tools. So I have a workshop all about that. And then we do also sometimes have specific theme retreats. In a few days, we are doing a family wellness retreat. It's the very first one for families to come with their children. There's sessions for adults, sessions for kids only. In December, we're going to do another one called Sacred Rest with Nature with my friend from Singapore, is co-facilitating this retreat for people to experience the 7 types of rest. Have you heard about the 7 types of rest? It's inspired by a book called Sacred Rest by Sandra Dalton Smith. She explains there are 7 types of rest. So besides physical rest, because usually we think of rest as just sleeping, lying down. And in fact, when she explains physical rest, it is not just sleeping. It is actually your body needs some kind of movement to relieve tension. So physical rest can look at actually stretching, like massage, not only just sleeping. And then there's emotional rest, mental rest, spiritual rest, creative rest, sensory rest, and social rest. And so she talked about all these different rests in different areas, because sometimes you feel like, oh, I just sleep. I have my 8 hours, but why I still feel so tired when I wake up so drained? Because it could be emotional rest, mental rest, social rest. So there's different areas. So we were inspired by the concept of her book, and we created this retreat where people can come and rest in these 7 different types of rest. There's different invitations to rest. So my friend, she facilitates forest bathing and yoga nidra. And we do also the shamanic journey, for example, to connect with their spirit animal, spirit guide. That's part of a spiritual rest that we do. Cacao, for example, it's part of the emotional rest, because we'll drink cacao medicine, which helps us to bring back into our heart, bring back to the present moment, and we'll practice forgiveness. After we do a forgiveness practice, that's linked to emotional rest. The rest invitations linked throughout the retreat. That's going to be in December, end of the year. Before Christmas hits, after this whole year, it's good to have this time to wrap up the past year and then to rest and have this renewed sense of energy before you enter the new year. That's another thing, the theme retreats that we do here at Muse Flower, besides the in-person sessions. When people come here, besides the classes I teach, I do a private session with oracle card reading. It's for helping people to find clarity in their next step. Maybe they are going through some kind of transition, they're going through some challenges, and so they need to have a little bit more clarity. But when I do a reading, it's always a two-way conversation. So I will ask them to actually look at the card. So it's for them to tap into their intuition, right? What do you see in the card? How do you feel? Okay. And for them to tell me, and then I would tell them, this is actually what's happening inside you, right? That's what's happening in your inner world. And then the conversation goes, and we always let them finish a session with some kind of key takeaway, some kind of takeaway action that they can actually use and do when they go back home. Just one thing, one thing that you can do when you go back. And then I will follow up with them a week later, and I'll like, how are you? Optional. You don't have to do it. There's no pressure, but just how are you? Did you get to do what we talk about?
That's great, because it gives a real flavor for what you do. And it sounds like this, I'd never heard of the 7 types of rest. And I love that, because I'm sure everybody listening can relate to that. You can get physical rest, but if socially you're exhausted or energetically you're exhausted, it doesn't matter how much sleep you get. You still feel pretty crappy. The workshop that you described, it just sounds so thoughtful in all these different layers of how you're intertwining these different types of rest to help people learn. I'm hearing from everything you're describing, this practicality of teaching things that they can take home with them, even following up. I can be super lazy about that unless somebody had a really tough session, but it is nice to support people when something big has moved or they're going to move it soon. Even just hearing your voice, I'm sure, seeing your face if you do it over Zoom, is going to bring them right back to that session where they felt empowered and seen and given support and suggestions from spirit through you, and that you involve them is even cooler. It's easy to just show up to receive a reading and to be pretty passive about that. I have people that we practice together, and that's been a part of my life for years now. And I love that. I love the objectivity. Somebody can bring their whole perspective of how they pick up information from mine, and then I get to be educated in all these ways. It's just so nice to participate. You invite people to do that.
Yes. I also learned it from my friend, one of the people I put in the inspired list in the early stages when I started. She also does tarot card reading. She taught me people honestly only believe in what they say. So you can tell them anything you want. And when they're receiving, of course, they will pick up key things. Just in the podcast, they listen to this podcast, they will pick up the key things. But then when they say it themselves, it's much more powerful because they believe in themselves, right? It's much more powerful when it's coming out from their own mouth, when they actually say it and they acknowledge it. It just goes a layer deeper. It inspires them more to take action. It's like logically we know we have to exercise more. Logically we know we have to do these things, but sometimes we're like, we don't feel so motivated. We don't get to do it. But when we say it ourselves, it changes that.
Oh, absolutely. And it also shows you've taken in the information, incorporated it within yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes in readings, people get a lot of information. So hearing them feedback to you, their one big takeaway or something like that, you can see that they were able to grasp the information. Sometimes the information that comes through in readings can be metaphorical or symbolic. It might make sense to us because it's not our life, but sometimes people have a hard time taking information in if they're a bit more of a concrete thinker. They may have a different process, and there's a lot of things that could get lost in translation. What do you love most about being an intuitive soul guide?
Thank you for that. So a part of me is like that with the empath, I think there's this, I feel good when people feel good around me. And so it's really wanting to help people to feel good. And I think it's just in my own journey. And I think often when we teach things that have really inspired and healed us. And so in my case is I've always put like trust outside of me. Oh, I see this teacher and I used to put them on a pedestal and oh my God, they know everything and I'm just going to blindly follow this person. I learned my lesson even in the last 10 years doing this work, teaching and sharing. It's always coming back to intuition when they feel stuck. A lot of times they feel stuck is because the heart says one thing, the intuition says one thing, but the mind kicks in. We can't do that to keep us safe, right? The fear, the doubt, the overthinking, and then we don't get to do what our heart calls us to do, our soul calls us to do. And then they feel stuck. And then they're like, why am I feel so stuck? I can't. I want to do this, but I can't. Oftentimes the mind only sees is this or that, option A or B. And there's always a reminder like, there's an option C and a D. There's infinite possibilities for the universe. And then they're like, oh, yes. I see that a lot in people that when they feel stuck on an emotional level, mental level, or on an energetic level as well. I feel like it's really always going back to learning to trust your intuition, like having this deeper trust. To me, it's a reflection when you trust your intuition, you're trusting the universe, right? You're trusting this bigger presence around you to support you. So you're not just relying on yourself. One more reason was that my dad passed away when I was 25. My dad had depression. That was also what inspired me when I come into the retreat center and when I explained I wanted this place for people to reconnect with themselves. It was that I've seen him suffer a lot. It's all this emotional and mental thing that he suffered a lot. He couldn't do this like he used to. It was almost 20 years ago and there's still a big stigma in mental health. He had a lot of resistance in taking the antidepressant because it would mean something. He was not proud of. There was all these things that I feel like, oh, when we travel somewhere, and I love spas, and that's my background also. We go for a massage. Yes, you feel great, but where's the deeper work that can help with the emotional part or the mental part? When I learned Reiki at 21, it really changed my world. Oh my God, what did we actually learn? Because we never learned that at school. Everything is just frequency, right? We can see that. I think that would help a lot of people feeling stuck, feeling depressed, just to be able to see and to learn that all these things in the unseen world, right? Like the things that we cannot see with physical eyes, but they're there.
And to dig deeper, to go into intuition, there's so many layers. And what you just said, there's a lot of layers of what you shared. And thank you for sharing those things. When you said about following teachers blindly, I had that experience myself with a psychic woman who had bad intentions. So I learned the hard way, and I'm still trying to figure out how to feel about myself as a facilitator, to never put people in a position to follow me blindly or anything that I say, or to put myself as some kind of authority. I mean, doing a podcast, teaching a class, talking to people, we don't really know how they're going to think of us. So really being mindful of managing that so carefully and not letting ego get involved that could create some weirdness for people, and teaching people to use their own discernment. You're right. If you feel like you're unsafe in an unsafe world, it's hard to listen to your intuition. If you can help people feel safe enough within themselves to start listening and then test it, even if you do get the results you weren't expecting, but the bigger picture of it, And then
Yes.
you learn to trust even more. And then it's trusting yourself, then trusting the universe and bringing it back and forth until you start to feel safe. That's similar to my journey also. Really wanting to help people. It does feel good to be around people who feel good, but it is also really nice to feel like
Yep.
legacy that we leave is
Yes.
the trail of I was this way and then I moved myself and I learned these things and I dropped these little tools and hints and pieces of information for other people to find also, just like I did, so that we can all pick ourselves up a bit more, feel a sense of community, certainly a sense of community with our spirit team. I don't know much about shamanic practices, but I feel like I have a very shamanic mindset of that we can talk to
Mm-hmm.
everything. Pretty much everything has consciousness. I do talk to my crystals. We have a fish tank. I check in with the fish if they need more food. I was recently thinking about connecting with tree energy when I was feeling desperate to fall
Mm-hmm.
asleep. That just seemed like the right
Mm-hmm.
thing to do. So I did that. It's so cool to feel a part of this active, dynamic world once you
Mm-hmm.
start really tuning in.
Yes,
I'm
that's right.
really sorry to hear about your dad in depression. That would have been a very hard thing to witness. His daughter, helping
Mm-hmm.
people feel more empowered and connected and have more compassion for themselves, I'm sure is something that would get you out of bed every day.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that. Thank you with the question when you started like why you want to do that. I was like, yeah. It started with so want to feel good, want to help people, but it's really the part of seeing how difficult it was for him. And that was more than 15 years ago. But I still see depression or mental health issues is still there's more awareness now, which is great, and more people acknowledging that they have it. And not to say lightly, oh, you should just do this and then it's going to go away. There's so many layers to it, but definitely having more practices and tools to help with the emotional health, the mental health. And to me, it's always going back also that spiritual connection. To me, that's like the biggest support we can rely on in life is and the biggest love we can receive that's from that spiritual connection, however you're connected just to this bigger presence. But I know that when people, especially when you're working, you're in a city, we're just so used to like, oh yeah, we're working constantly, we're building our own personal brand, even business, we're able to bring people in and stuff. Sometimes we can forget about that spiritual connection. We can forget that there's still actually a lot of that unseen world, that to forget to tap into that interwovenness that we actually have with nature, with everything, and to be able also to receive answers, clarity, and guidance from nature. I love nature, and we live in nature. Our retreat center is in the forest, lots of trees and flowers and birds around. Even just being by nature, even when you don't do anything, it can be also very healing too.
I was wondering if this was going to feel right to come up. So I was driving
Mm.
today and I had the windows down in my car. And this hasn't happened to me before, but a dragonfly came into my car. It
It's
was
beautiful.
kind of small. And I had this moment of, like, oh crap, did they sting? I got a little worried at first because I didn't know, and I didn't do anything. It just came over near the steering wheel and sat there for a moment and then went about his business. I live in a small, somewhat suburban area of San Diego County in California. There's nature around, but I'm not in it as much as I would like to be. I feel a connection to birds, or we have squirrels. I looked up the spiritual meaning of dragonfly, which was very validating, and I'm so glad. But it was just so nice to have this unique run in with nature in this way I
Yes.
didn't expect and get a little message. But that was really cool to be so close to this beautiful and delicate looking creature.
I love dragonflies. We have a lot here, especially when it rains. Sometimes not every animal encounter would be a sign, but sometimes you can feel it and there's this sense of knowing that you can feel, oh, it is something more special, right?
Yeah.
A random thing. I also had a dragonfly encounter last year. I was thinking if I should go to this event in Bangkok in Thailand, and it's called Dragonfly. So the event was called Dragonfly. I was thinking if I should go, and in the morning when I woke up and I came to my meditation altar, there was a dead one, but it was a dragonfly on the altar. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, I take that as a sign that I should totally go to this event called Dragonfly because there was a dead dragonfly showing up for me in my altar. I love that. That's communication. Nature itself has this big consciousness. One of the practices we do here is called the medicine walk. It's just you going in nature, but you carry this question in your mind and you're paying attention with your intuition to see how nature is answering your question. with the things that you get to notice. What's drawing your eyes? What's drawing your attention? It could be a sound. You saw something and what kind of metaphor it might mean to you, or what kind of insight might come through as you walk through nature, but with the intention to have this question. I'm looking for this answer. I'm open to the answer for the guidance from nature.
That feels like another practical example of giving somebody an experience of something that they could do anywhere. They could do that on the beach if they're not out where there are a lot of trees. I did see on your website the picture of the property where you have the retreat, and it looks gorgeous. It just looks lush and green and very rich.
So this is like the northern part of Thailand, and hopefully you'll have one day to come and visit Thailand. So northern part, Chiang Rai, Chiang Mai, is actually more like the mountains and the lakes, the rivers. And then the south of Thailand is usually where people, it's the beaches, the islands, and the ocean. So it's nice actually in Thailand to have both, just the north and the south.
In California, we have a nice mixture of things. There's many hours of driving in between, but you can end up in snowy mountains or be down in Baja California, the beaches where it's warm. Not as much diversity, I think, as what you have, but it's really beautiful here too. What else do you think would be something you would want people to know about you as a practitioner, as someone who's worked on herself to empower yourself to be more connected to your own soul? What would you want people to know about you?
To know about me, I will just talk about my style, and probably everybody has different style, and there are so many practitioners out there, and everybody's doing great work helping different people in different areas. My vision is to help people, but to be able to, when we say awakening, to me is being able to trust themselves and trust the universe or the divine all around. I see myself as a guide. It's like I open the door and I show you, okay, this is one way, but it's up to you. You have to take the step, right? I can't do the work for you, but I will show you. And the practices I've shared are practices that have healed myself first. I'm someone who needs to try it out myself. Even for Reiki, when I first learned Reiki, I just want to see if energies was real. I want to see, is this real? And then it was real. And so all the things I share with people are things that are basically try and test it on myself, because otherwise I wouldn't share it with other people. It's things that I have integrated into my life that have healed me. And then I would have the confidence to share because I lived it myself. That's why the practical part is important, to be able to integrate spirituality in our daily life. It's not just something that you sit in meditation an hour and what happens in the next 23 hours, right? So we have to bring whatever in that practice, you have to be able to bring in real life. Most people, we still have to pay bills, right? We still have to work. We have children to take care of. We have elderly parents to take care of. For me, spirituality is, yes, it would be great to come to a retreat, and I love, and please, yes, come to a retreat, and because it is life-changing, because you're stepping away from the daily life. And then more importantly is what you can bring back to your daily life as a changed person now, right? To really help yourself and to be sustainable. That is something very important, always, to be able to take whatever that is to be integrated into your daily life and to really to live the dream life that you desire, because that's what we're here for too. We didn't come here to suffer. We come here to, I believe we all, our soul, we come here to learn and evolve, but also at the same time, we have to carry out soul mission, yes, and feel very fulfilling, but also to have fun too. It's not like all sticks and no carrots. So enjoying the pleasures in life, you are living as a divine being, right? Having this human experience, when you're shining your light, when you're living in joy, when you're living in purpose, you're radiating your light, and your light is going to inspire other people, helping sensitive souls to recognize their gift, because that is the light. You have a message. Everybody has a message that you can share. You never know how that message can help other people. Other people in your environment, it could be a stranger. Like before I said, oh, thank you so much for sharing that about my website. It's just that you put things out, you don't know who is going to see it, who's going to receive it. We never know. Sometimes we feel like we put things out and maybe nobody's responding, but we never know where and how that's going to lead to, and how that's going to help people in different ways. So I think that's what I want to share.
You're talking about the next step, digging down to get more in touch with who we are, because we can help other people better when we're being truer to ourselves. But there's also that part of uncovering ourselves to ourselves. I think that's what you're describing, your retreats do, your readings do, is helping people get in touch with that true part of themselves. And that is a delicate trek to take, finding the right timing, that sense of openness, and somebody with integrity. And what you described is you wouldn't try something on somebody that you didn't already do on yourself, that you've seen evidence of how effective it can actually be, and to have the integrity of knowing that and bringing all of yourself and all of your skills and tools to the people that you help, because they need all those things. And then that sparks all of those things in them. And then they get to live that way. I couldn't have imagined even 10 years ago living as connected as I feel now. I don't think it's predictable what we're actually capable or how it will feel when we reach that next level in our own evolution and development. There are parts we do on our own, but when we find somebody who's a bit of a Sherpa or a guide that says, okay, let me get the door for you, but you have to choose the path. And then you also get to relate to yourself as the person who chose the right path. And that just feels so critical in a world where intuition, healing, Reiki, all these things are not taught in school, and we're socialized to not go inward, that we tend to go outward for everything, which is what has us look for teachers and gurus at times, which may not always be healthy for us. So finding that path within, and then finding how we can navigate as our own guide eventually, once we really learn how to pare down all the extra stuff that we really don't need. Your retreats, everything that you're talking about, all of your offerings just sound really thoughtful and intentionally meant to support people to connect to this deeper version of themselves that we all benefit from and we all need, even if we're not aware of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You say it in such an eloquent way, and it's inspiring for me too, because when you asked me the question was for me to, yeah, I like to dig deep for myself. And then when you reflect back to me what I said, I was like, yeah, thank you, Noelle. Thank you for saying that. It's like I probably have to re-listen to this for myself, like, because of course we're human. We still have doubts sometimes. We still have this overthinking. Should I do it? Is people gonna respond to it? Does it really help people? There are doubts.
Totally get that. And look, there's a humility in doing this kind of work that is a double-edged sword, because I feel that very much. Sometimes there's always this little sheet of self-doubt of like, I am really doing the thing I think I'm doing, right? I am really thinking about this program that's going to help people, and working with my spirit team to be in sync and in tune as I possibly can be, because I don't have the faith in me as just one person to really know what's going to support other people. I don't have all the answers for sure. I kind of love that about people who look at themselves that way, because you're not the answer. You don't know everything. And thank goodness you know that, because then you get to keep learning and you keep growing. And that's probably why you're a good teacher and a good practitioner, and you keep getting so excited about helping more people, is because you're like, oh my gosh, look at me now. A year ago, I wouldn't even have thought that. We get to witness our own revelations and progress. And it's so amazing to me how it can just keep going.
Actually, I love to share if there's an insight. I share it in a newsletter, and it's surprising. People write back and say, oh my God, that was what I was going through. So we all have very similar journeys when we share it. We can choose not to share it because we are doubting ourselves and we're not sure. And then it takes away this opportunity for connection. And then there's a quote from a magazine that I don't know who it's from, and I have it because I cut it out and I put it on the wall, and it says nature is medicine, food is medicine, and it says connection is medicine. And so to me, being able to, when you share something and people relate and see, yeah, we're not alone on this journey, both on the physical level, or there are other people, they experience similar things, and on the spiritual and the general level, we're not alone on this journey, because we have all these spiritual helpers helping us too. And so it just makes this journey more fun, less challenging, because if we think we have to do everything by ourselves, it's very hard. But when we know we have our friends and family supporting us, we have like-minded people that we resonate with what's going on in our journeys. We have friends that are reading to each other. I also have friends that just support yourself. And then, of course, the spiritual support team. So yeah, and nature also. There's a lot of support from nature, but also just on an energetic level as well. My son, who's 4-year-old, we're walking our dogs. And then suddenly he said, nature is so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, thank you for saying that. I was like, wow, thank you. Nature is so beautiful. I was like, yeah.
And he's probably feeling it as well as seeing it. So it's even more pure and perfect to him, probably. Yeah.
And the thing is, we walk our dogs for a year. It's the same path. We just walk around our center like 3 times. And it was really just a few days ago. He just said that for the first time. So interesting.
It's nice you're teaching him to pay attention to.
Yeah. I think he just did it by himself. Really. I didn't even prompt him for anything. He just, maybe I did. I don't remember though, like things I said throughout sometimes, but it was not at the moment. But it was really at the moment. And sometimes when I say things like this, it was a reminder for myself. Children are great teachers. Sometimes they remind us of the beauty and the awe of things that we're so used to already.
Tania, it was a pleasure spending this time with you, hearing about the cool stuff that you're doing, the nice adventures that you've got lined up for people who want to come to Thailand, and the things that you're offering online. So can you share how people can reach you?
Thank you so much for having me on here. I have my website, which is taniaho.me, and for Museflower website, museflowerretreat.com. There's only 1 hour to find out more about our retreats, like the retreats I talk about in December. And then, of course, we are on Instagram. And when you go to our website, you can find our Instagram. And my podcast, I actually just do them in seasons, so it's not like a regular weekly thing. So the season that you're listening to was from last year. I did about 13, 14 episodes, and then I'm planning for the season 2 will be coming in around August, so next month.
Gotcha. Tania can be spelled many ways. It's Tania, and Ho is Ho.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. And we'll put your information in the show notes so people can reach you. And thanks for this. This was really a joy to talk to you about these things. And it's just really nice to learn more about shamanic practices and somebody who has raised and uncovered themselves. And now you're sharing that journey. And that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks for spending this time with me on Mediumship Sparks. If this episode resonated with you, please like it, subscribe, rate, and certainly share it with somebody else who could benefit. If you're interested in any support I might be able to provide as you navigate your spiritual path, please feel free to check out my offerings at connectingwithnoelle.com and reach out at mediumshipsparkspodcast@gmail.com. Take good care of yourself, and I'll look forward to being with you again soon.